So how much was that worth to me? Years. And so for me, I have always been willing to pay in whatever currency was required to get knowledge that I don't know.
Can you get that now for free?
Yes. It didn't exist then. YouTube wasn't even a thing. Instagram had just come out. Like, for context, for everybody who's listening to this. I think about this equation a lot, and I actually had some video of somebody shitting on me for this, but I'm going to say it anyways because there's the 20% that are going to say it. That's right. I'm not going to dilute myself. So I saw a salesman say this at a conference, and he wrote $1 million on a whiteboard, and he called up a lady in the audience, and he said, "How much do you make?" And she said $50,000 a year. And so he wrote $50,000 underneath the million, and he subtracted it. And it said $950,000. He said, it costs you $950,000 every single year. You don't know how to make $1 million a year. And so the question is, what is the value of that skill? And the answer is the difference. And so the troll who responded to this originally was like, well, you can keep going. What about $100 million a year or $1 billion a year? And I was like, yes. Yes, if you had the skill of making $1 billion a year, then the difference between 50,000 and $1 billion is the delta of the value of that skill. And it's really not one skill. It's many skills that ladder up to, when combined together, to create that kind of value. But I remember that being like seared into my memory, which is like, whatever I want to have, the delta between where I'm at and where that thing is what basically what I'm willing to sacrifice in order to learn what I need to learn to get there. And I think that if people appraised that delta, not by the money in their wallet or the time that they currently have, but how much they would be making or how much time they would have and how much that's worth to them, then I think far more people would be willing to invest in their education. And it's such a taboo word because people hate the word education. It's like, oh, it's like work. But like, you want to be an entrepreneur, like, you got to learn. There's so much stuff to learn.
Parrots versus practitioners. This is an idea that I've thought about a lot over the years, because I look at someone like you and I can tell based on everything you say today that you are a practitioner. In this analogy, what I call a parrot is someone who hears what Alex said and then starts saying it. But your lessons and wisdom have come from going through that shit and being able to distill the essence like Richard Feynman and then share it. There is a group of people that just spend their whole life reading books, posting about it, etc. They never take the jump. Parrots versus practitioners is the best way to learn being a practitioner.
This is widely known in the education space, but not as much in the content world. But there are two types of education. There is procedural and there is declarative. So declarative knowledge is knowing about something. Procedural knowledge is knowing how to do something. So a simple example would be, okay, I understand how private equity works, right? Like that you could talk about it. You can explain how, okay, they take some debt and then they have this arbitrage and they get this enterprise value multiple, whatever. But you've never done a deal. And until you've done a deal, you will not have procedural knowledge of knowing how to actually do a deal. And so you can read 100 books on sales, but you will learn more about actually selling from your first 100 sales calls.
And business is the same.
Yes. And so the idea, in my opinion, for most people is that if you want to rapidly learn, you want to rapidly do those 100 repetitions as fast as you can so that you can suck 100 times in a row and find the 10 that sucked the least and then say, how do I suck least on the next 100? And you keep doing that so many times until eventually you suck so little that you're actually good.
Hard work.
Yes. And I think, this is actually really interesting because it ladders up to, because there's two types of creators. You've got entertainers and then you have educators. At least that's how I separate it. The point of entertainment is to maintain the attention of the audience. That is it. So the point of an entertainer is to literally just keep people watching. The point of an educator is to change someone's behavior. And so if you want content to do well in either of these buckets, fundamentally, at least in the education space, you're selling time. So education is, I spent all this time doing this thing to learn these 4 things that I can give to you so that you don't have to spend this time learning it. And so education is actually, if said differently, what you do is you buy time.